And for that, I have the right person to ask. Sean Spicer is Chief Strategist and Communications Director for the Republican National Committee. What kind of a year has it been for the RNC? Should it end with Donald Trump as your front runner?
As far as this year, it's been intense. It's been awesome. I think you look at the level of enthusiasm that's going throughout this country. On the Republican side, it's unprecedented. We have the most diverse, qualified field in the history of either party, and I think that's awesome for as we head into 2016.
Don't you worry about the brand, though, where two-thirds of the country disagrees with Trump's pronouncement relative to Muslim immigration? You got to be concerned about how that can sell in a general, right? Regardless of whether he's the nominee or someone else gets painted with that broad brush.
Look, here's what I care about: winning. That's it. Number one, number two, number three. I want to win. The chairman wants to win. Everyone in this building, all they care about is winning. And what we are doing right now is beating Hillary Clinton up and down. You pick those candidates out. I'll take any one of them that will appear on either of those debate stages, and we will win.
Well, I've looked at those same internals, and I acknowledge what you're saying, that in the internals you find that Americans regard her by a majority as being dishonest and untrustworthy. And yet, at the same time, she wins most of the head-to-heads that I have reviewed, which I think then becomes a reflection on your field.
Look, I think a couple things. Number one, not only is she not trustworthy, and that's reflected in every poll. Number two, you look at the polls head-to-head, our folks are either within the margin of error, tied, or beating her. That's in every single one of those polls. Third, as national security becomes a bigger and bigger issue, the contrast between every one of the Republican candidates and Hillary Clinton is extremely vast. Our candidates up and down the ballot have put America's security first in forefront. We are concerned about making sure that this country is safe and stays safe. What you're seeing on Hillary Clinton is a very, very poor record when it comes to foreign affairs and the ability to keep this country safe. The contrast could not be clearer, and it's going to continue to get brighter and brighter as every day goes by.
Dr. Carson was none too happy to hear about that Monday night dinner in Washington. What's your response to him?
There's two different issues. One is what happened at that dinner. And the dinner was just literally a group of folks getting together, having a political discussion, of which this was a subject that came up halfway through it, because people were trying to understand the process through the course of a normal conversation that occurred. However, that being said, I held a press briefing that 150 members of the press came to last week, or excuse me, 3 weeks ago, where we walked through the delegate nomination process and where people asked us about different rules and different procedures that are going to be different for the cycle. And of course, the conversation of does a contested primary, is that being covered? And the answer that I would say publicly, privately, in a phone booth, on a metro, is of course, we plan for every scenario. Look, we're a party that's had the last two conventions. We've had a hurricane. So of course we plan for scenarios. What happens if weather's a problem? What happens if there's a transportation issue? What happens if there's a contested convention? We will prepare for every scenario. It would be malpractice for us not to do that, especially after the last two weather-related conventions. So anyone who tells you that we're not preparing for a variety of scenarios should have their head checked. But we're not doing it in any kind of closed-door way. The bottom line, Michael, is this. Republican voters will choose delegates in the next year, and more of them than ever will have a say in this process.
Tuesday night's going to be a huge night, and I will see you in Vegas.
Look forward to it. Thank you for having me, and safe travels out to Vegas.